I've thought about this, and I thought about the fact that we are talking about an uprising. As I scanned the media of the day 35 years ago, they talked about a riot. The people, though, called it an uprising, and it was. A community rising up against the persistence of evil, the perpetuation of a thing called apartheid, the scandalous continuation of exploitation and the stubbornness of white supremacy, and the disgrace of black complicity in our oppression. Unaffordable rent in a situation of dire joblessness is a scandal, and they said so. Low wages are a scandal. Joblessness is a scandal. Evictions are a scandal. Underserved communities and underfunded schools is not an accident, it is a scandal. Poverty in the midst of so much wealth in this country is not God's will. It is a scandal, a deliberately created scandal, and they said so. Their petition was meticulous. Their call for action was clear. There was no ambiguity in what they saw, in what they described, and in what they wanted to fight for. They knew who they were, and they knew what they were fighting for. They understood that their grievances were not isolated incidences peculiar only to the northern suburbs. They understood that we were all living under a racist dispensation, a racist exploitative oppression system with racist exploitative structures and laws. So they raised the issues of national importance as well. They knew that apartheid as a whole should go. There was no place for apartheid in our lives anymore, and they said so. The puppet management committees of the time, run by mostly the Labour Party in these areas, only serve to subject us further to white racist minority rule, and they are doing this in our name. That is the scandal. They knew those sellout voices did not speak for them or represent them, that they were already rejected by the people time and time again, and that they should be disbanded, and they said so. The people did not ask for apartheid's racial and class divides in the city. They wanted one city and one municipality, and they said so. It was never just about them, brothers and sisters. It was about other things. So even though Nelson Mandela was released by that time, other leaders had been released the previous year. There were still many political prisoners held in apartheid's jails. And so in the solidarity of shared compassion, they called for the release of all of those other political prisoners, lest people forgot. there were still political prisoners in 1990, even though Nelson Mandela was out. But because they knew that words alone are never enough, and because the spirit of the non-violent revolution that was the heartbeat of the United Democratic Front was still in them, burned in their hearts, so to speak, it spurred them on. They took whatever they felt inside to the streets. But they were disciplined. They deliberately did not call for school boycotts because they knew how much those school boycotts provoked the apartheid regime. They did not call for worker strikes because they understood what the apartheid regime's response would be. They did not want to expose our children and our workers unnecessarily to the violence that was apartheid. So they too thought, we have to keep this as disciplined as possible. So on August 6, 1990, they gathered themselves in the dignity of their cause. They clothed themselves in the fortitude of historical vindication and the determination of a people bent on freedom. And in righteous anger, they set out on this peaceful march, only to be met by police, by cuspers and dogs and tear gas, and police armed, by the way, with live ammunition and rubber bullets. So at that moment, the uprising became not a riot, as they called it. It became a massacre, which they refused to call it.